Hello and welcome in to a special Sorare Data show. I'm Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdino on Sorare. Joined today by Guy and Tulga from Sorare to bombard them with questions that we've all been asking on Twitter. And here they get to face the questions themselves. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedules to talk about Sorare.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, excited to be here.
So we're going to kind of break this up a little bit. We have some gameplay questions. There's some design questions that I had, as well as we took some from the community. But we obviously are now, what are we, about a month in now to officially the new gameplay of Sorare after the transition period. And Guy, I think this is more towards your expertise, but basically, how has it been? Did the rollout kind of meet your guys' expectations, and has it been successful for you?
Yeah, for sure. So, from a challenge point of view, like the game evolved a lot compared to what we had. And what we've seen, which is cool, is that people adapted to it and they mostly stayed. So that's really what we see from a data perspective and what we see online. The great thing for us is that we're in a big position to be sustainable long-term in the long run. And that's really healthy for everyone, both Sorare and its user, because it's heavily linked. The good thing is that people are excited by the new gameplay. It brought the fun. It's a rewarding experience. We see people sharing a lot more, getting excited online compared to previously. So that's pretty nice, at least for the existing users. And for the new user part, we see that they're understanding better the game with the new structure that is in place. And like one piece of data is that we've done the best new user acquisition in this August since the Premier League launch in 2023. So it's been like 18 months. So that's good signs. Like that's better than what the start of last year. So yeah, like the exciting part is that we got to a position as well to launch the biggest marketing campaign of Mbappé that you've seen yesterday. So overall, we believe it's a success. Now, of course, we still have a lot to iterate on all aspects because it's a whole new gameplay with a lot of concept, such as special events, price pool configuration, etc. That probably there can be a question around them later, so we'll be able to chat about them.
So yeah, and just to add real quick, I think it was a great cross-functional effort from every single business unit, from design, creative, marketing, and engineering and product, that we all rallied around this single vision and came out with a just a great kind of experience.
Yeah, I think that was pretty evident by what we saw. Like, obviously, we all knew about the big gameplay changes, but I mean, it was like a massive change to the platform. The early access stuff, which is like not only something that is very new to Sorare, but is essentially new to the entire space that you guys were able to accomplish. Obviously, we have the big reveals tomorrow. We're taping this on Wednesday, September 11th. And so tomorrow is kind of the big reveal day. It feels like there is genuine excitement from a lot of users of seeing, not only what the new cards look like, but also, will they get the special edition cards? These holos are just like, people are very excited. And it's encouraging that you guys have seen kind of the growth of new people coming in. And I do kind of assume that it's because you can play right away and you didn't have to wait the extra month or however long it was to get new cards out. So was there anything that kind of before the transition period ended, like did anything happen in that time frame that either surprised you guys in terms of how users played the game or reacted to it, or was it kind of what you kind of expected?
Yeah, on this one, I think one of the big ones is around the division system, and it sounded like it was a whole new system. And during the transition period, what we saw is that everyone wanted to be relegated, which is exactly what we don't want in a division system.
Yeah.
And it kind of defies the purpose of a division system, where you want the players, the best players at the top that have the best lineups to compete amongst each other, and the ones that have less skills and less better galleries to be in lower division and have rewards that are more attainable, right? So that's something we definitely saw during the transition period, and we had to adapt the system. And the good thing today, probably what we see is that everyone wants to be at the top division and fast track. So we've made the necessary changes from the transition period toward now in a system where people actually want to be there. So that includes changing the leaderboard prize pools, the type of boxes that we have in divisions that get better over with time. So those are a few things that we had to tweak in order to get there. So I think that's the big one. And since talking about the boxes also as well, like during the transition period, if we all remember the perception around level ups, I love level ups personally. I think they're pretty useful. Like they help you, sometimes get higher ranking.
Sure.
But we definitely see that from a perception point of view, like always getting level ups was not appreciated. We already had in plan to add more items, the first one being Essence for the new season. But given all the feedback, we decided to accelerate a bit adding that item, and we did it for the Euros in order to solve that issue much earlier, and so we had to make this change. So I think that these are the two big ones for me at least.
Yeah, and then from the design side, I think a big one was adding more IP, adding more kind of imagery, like kind of making it feel like a video game. And we got a lot of great feedback about that, and so we decided to just ramp it up and just like go off.
So I wasn't going to bring it up, but since you guys kind of walked into the whole Essence thing. So admittedly, I was not skeptical about the concept of Essence, kind of the equivalent of shards or game, card pieces that you can progress higher. Can you speak at all about literally the term Essence and like how you guys kind of came to that imagery almost of like, because like you said, Tulga, it does feel a little video game-ish, which I think at the time I didn't necessarily understand, but I'm not probably the target that needed to accept that right away. And kind of how we said in one of our streams previously, it's just kind of become part of the furniture now. So like we all get it, but like, can you go into that a little bit of the kind of what the discussions were about how that process came about?
Yeah, so I think before we get there, like that, there's this idea, I guess, of the level of quality you want to produce in the product. Level one is does it satisfy the product requirements? Is it error free? Is everything kind of working as it intended? And obviously, we can go with like a progress bar or something to then you can craft your card or something like that. But the thing that we want to do on the creative side was go to the next level where kind of people don't really expect or want those things. They were just pleasantly surprised and kind of gamify this thing and abstract all the complexities that go with these kind of concepts such as like shards, as you say. And we said, what can we do to kind of gamify this aspect, make it like a fun moment where everyone's really excited to first get the reward and to craft the reward. And so we went through a lot of different options. Shards was one of them. There were, different kind of directions. And ultimately, as a team, we felt really, really happy with the creative of this kind of liquid magma kind of concept in a card factory that builds a team out. And when you go through the video and you see the kind of like FIFA style of like your position and the country or club and like, what's the last one? Sorry. Addition, it's just like, it's like you get really excited, right? And those are the moments that we kind of want to create and craft with the idea of essence, and so what we actually did is we started with the product and the creative, and the content kind of determined how we kind of brand it and we name it. And so because we really like that kind of quality and material, we kind of landed with this aspect, and then from there it's like, what do we call it, right? And there were many different names. Some of them, or whatever, but we had a big team meeting with the creative team, and honestly, like we just felt like with the conviction and trust in our creative team that we should, brand it appropriately. And one of the concepts we had was Essence, and we felt like it's a great term for video games. It kind of abstracts a lot of the things. A lot of people, when they hear it, you can think of it as like a game material or something like that you kind of collect, and through that, you can see how it's just transformed the game, where people are really excited to talk about how much you collect. People are coming up with charts of like when to craft the essence and whatnot. And I think it's been a whole fun gamification process. And I think that's like the kind of where we want to take Sorare.
I think from that perspective, you guys nailed it. The fact that there are so many, I don't want to say questions, but they're like the questions of like, when should I craft and all of this stuff? How long should I wait? Does it matter, where I get everything? And there's been kind of this entirely new strategical viewpoint that you have to take in the game, that you're right. Like a progress bar. I remember when Essence was announced, I was one of those like old cranky people that was like, just make it a progress bar. And I had a few people who were like, that's just boring. And I was like, you're right. You're right. That's just boring. And it seemed weird to add such a big part of what has become a big part of the platform in a very boring design and implementation. And so, yeah, it absolutely has kind of like created additional excitement and just strategy that comes into the game. So kudos for that for sure. But since we kind of talked about boxes and Essence a little bit, do you guys feel that enough users look at boxes like as rewards? It feels like there are some people like, oh, all I won was a box. And we are like, well, sure, but somebody else just won a box and crafted an Mbappe from 20S, like, is there something that you feel like you guys need to do to like convince people more that like these are very valuable?
Yeah. So like first thing is fully agree that they're not perceived as well as they should be. And so there's stuff to improve. Even a funny thing is that even on Sorare data for the first few game weeks, you didn't even show boxes as rewards. So people screenshotting on Twitter, points required to win something, although like they probably had a box. So yeah, that's something right now that is rectified, but at least it brings awareness.
Yeah.
There's definitely something around early adopters having grown accustomed to winning either cards or cash only for the last 5 years. So it's still only been a few weeks with the new system, so there is that. But that being said, I mean there are ways to improve the sentiment on Essence. Like one is voices in the community, like you, who enjoy Essence, thinks it's good, and we're talking about it now, so that's good. Some people posting like Chani or other on Twitter, that will help a bit change with the perception. And in a way, same thing happened for Threshold, I feel, where it took time for people to accept the pros and cons of each. Of course, not everyone accepted, but you bringing this awareness and a lot of others on what it brings and what it doesn't bring definitely helps with this perception. So that's one. And definitely for us in product, we can do a better job to convey better the value of boxes and Essence. So that's something we should do. That we don't celebrate it enough. We don't show enough what it does.
Yeah, that's probably a failure on the design side, on part where I didn't get to focus too much on the Essence part, where you were focusing so much on just like the whole lobby structure, competition, the in-season, and making that like be the focus. And the opportunity costs are, some things fall through the cracks, and we didn't get it to really promote how great Essence is and how much it's gamified the rewards mechanism, and how much users should be really pleased about it. Some of my friends make fun of me that they just like pixie dust or whatever, but like it's like a sick thing, and I'm really I think we'll do a better job in the future promoting that and changing the perception of winning Essence.
So do you think that comes from the way that you guys kind of present it on the site, or is it more just a conversational piece that we need to talk about it more?
For me, it's both. I think like there's both elements, like both will feed into each other for sure. So
yeah, definitely both. And I think that we'll be coming up with some new things to improve that perception.
So outside of Essence, we obviously have the level ups, which we mentioned, which are shown in like the classic reward boxes. We have market credits in the in-season ones. Have you guys, well, you've obviously thought of it, but is there anything that you can kind of share with us of whether users can expect more items in reward boxes in the coming months, or I don't even want to say years, because nobody can think that far ahead, but because one of the ones, at least I'll point out, that a few people have given me feedback on is the possibility of not necessarily moving market credits from in-season to classic, but at least adding them to classic. as kind of a way to get people who maybe exclusively play Classic, maybe move over to in-season because they have these market credits. Right now, you can only win them for people who are already playing in-season.
Yeah, so as Tulga was saying, indeed, like at least in the past few months, and also like in the coming months, like our focus was to get the fundamentals right, which is key to the business, like the in-season model, the early access cards that's going to be revealed. Price pools still have some adjustment to be made. So like we're working on perfecting these to be done, and then once this is done, then we will have room to expand and to work on topics like reward boxes. So concerning adding new items, like new additional items, I wouldn't say it's soon, but of course we're discussing it. Any new items that we introduce will have big impact on the game, so we have to treat it considerably. And then for the market credits, it is a discussion. I mean, I hear what you say, so it's something we're also discussing to see like if it makes sense.
Yeah, and I remember in some of your other podcasts with some other people, you guys mentioned, on the creative side, even just like cases or stickers or anything cosmetic that we can kind of get into the game. And like, the whole creative team have talked about it, and we kind of like would love to have it, but there's an opportunity cost. And first we want to do is make sure that we provide an excellent early access experience where, we have these special edition cards coming out, the unveiling experience. And so there's all these really important things that are key to the in-season model that we want to like make sure is an excellent kind of quality like user experience. And from then we'll have the time to then consider these other items.
Awesome. Yeah. I think people kind of forget that you're not like a team of 1,000 people and so it takes, you guys have to prioritize what you guys think is the most important and get those things completed before you can move on. Guy, I think that's a really interesting point that you mentioned, that anything that's added to the reward boxes at this point is going to be a major change and an impact. And so I do find it a little ignorant, I guess, when people are like, oh, just throw jerseys in there. And it's like, you can't just like give out thousands of jerseys every single game week and have that expectation that everybody's like, oh yeah, I didn't win anything this week except this jersey. Like, you don't want that to be the experience, because that is a very big prize.
100%. Indeed, like all these have been considered, but sometimes indeed when you run the numbers and then you end up with, okay, you're gonna have 0.01% chance to win that jersey. Like, is it worth to put? So I think indeed, like there is the like economic aspect behind what to put and how to put it and if it makes sense. So yeah, exactly. Like all these are taken into consideration before putting it.
So there are 3 specific gameplay things I wanted to touch on because a few people brought it up to me. The first one I'll bring up is the 50% captain bonus that has pretty much become the norm. I think we have it everywhere at this point, which was a change from the 20%. Can you talk a little bit about why you guys went to the 50% and if you think it's working for what you guys thought it would do?
Yeah. So I think usually in any fantasy game, like the purpose of a captain is that it adds more variance, more excitement, and more impact to the strategy, right? When you select it. And to give a bit perspective, at least compared to other games, like other popular fantasy games have much more captaincy impact, by the way. So some, instead of 50%, have 100%.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing. And 2 is like the score difference usually that can be scored in other fantasy game between 2 players can be massive. Like in some games, a player can range from 2 points to more than 16 points, And so if you captain a player that scored 16 versus 2, well, like you have an 8x kind of difference of points, right? Versus in the Sorare realm, usually captain scores range between 50 and 100. So it's technically 2x different, right? Mm-hmm. So at least from an impact perspective, with the 20%, we see like the difference between captaining, say, like this is a bit an extreme case of captaining a player that scored 100 versus 50. That gives you 10 points. So it's kind of low impact. Like it does help a bit, but it's not massive enjoyment, massive impact. Versus if it's 50%, it's 25 points. So one, it doesn't break the game as well, where okay, it's always about the captain. But two, it's like those 25 points make a difference to get you to the next threshold of level, because usually that's a bit the number of points required, to get to another meaningful level. So that's a bit. So that's when it's 50%. So that's a bit what went into our thought process for this. And yeah, so those are the reason. Now, of course, like it's, as you say, like obviously it's controversial. Some people prefer the 20%, some people prefer the 50%. But those at least are the reason why we believe, we wanted to do this change. That's the gist of it.
I don't think that there's any better feeling than when you get a 100 from your captain at this point. Like, it feels like it's really impactful. And previously, obviously, we knew it was impactful, but it like really feels it this way. On the flip side, when you miss on your captain, like you really feel it as well. And so, but I think, like you said, it increases kind of the excitement and the variance on it. And so, I guess the follow-up is there's no thought of going back to 20%.
We definitely, like, two things to keep in mind. One is we consider all the feedback and everything is thought of. And two is based on what we change. Like if we were to change these kind of gameplay patches, it's usually during the gameplay windows that we communicated. So at least they will be known in advance and like for the right reason, and there will be time to adapt, So yeah, as with anything, we read everything and we consider, whether it makes sense or not to change things.
Cool. The next one I think is a little more of a niche question, but it's about super rares. And you probably knew this was coming anyway, that like there has been, I don't think there's as much excitement about super rares at this point. And I think just part of the gameplay in terms of classic and in season, that the enthusiasm for super rare competitions just isn't as great as it used to be. And I think part of it is that they're kind of now in their, I mean, we always had super rare only competitions, but the fact that we don't have rare plus or pro anymore makes a lot of people who had super rares kind of for that, and those who didn't adjust during the transition. But essentially, like, can you help make the case for playing super rare competitions at this point, I guess?
Yeah. So a couple of things. Like one is we realize more and more that scarcities, like this, the user base in the scarcities behave differently. So what we do in one doesn't usually, like, not always work for another. Like for whether it's price pool configuration, etc. We realize this more. So we have to treat scarcities, a bit differently when thinking about them. For super, like, we really want to get to the root cause of what the problem is with super with the new gameplay, because like, there's been all these changes. So we need to try to identify exactly what is the root cause by reading your feedback, talking to users, looking at the data, etc. So these are stuff we are doing currently. Something just to note that we did for super rare by again reading feedback and looking at data is that, like, not so long time ago, we were rewarding super rares for the unique competitions, especially like the high quality cards. So one thing we did is we moved all the super rare cards towards the super rare level, which technically is supposed to help the classic super rare competitions, because now we have access to the the star super rare, which you didn't before.
Yep.
So that's something we did do, like, in order to help super rare. Now, is it enough? Might not be. So we are evaluating how to incentivize user to play more super rare with the right changes that needs to be done. So we'll keep you updated on when we do this, but like, rest assured that we are listening and we will make the necessary changes if needed for this scarcity.
Yeah, like I don't play unique at all, but I do play super rare, and I really appreciate what you said at the beginning there, that there's a bigger recognition now that each scarcity is kind of different. And so like what might work for limited won't necessarily work for super rare, or the other way around. I do feel like that there is a bit of a misunderstanding from a lot of users in terms of what you can reward in super rare, just because there are just not that many cards to in like in play, and then there are only so many rewards you can give. So I think people are looking for rewards that are kind of outside the scope of what you do in rare and limited, because it's just very different. But obviously that's, if it was easy, I'm sure you guys would have done it already. And so it's not like there's a clear answer that's just out there. But I appreciate that you guys are acknowledging that, that it needs to be looked at.
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure. And as you say, like one thing, for example, which you can see from the numbers is, because again, there's not enough cards to reward, and it's a new, like the Essence system is a new system that we put in place. Like we are giving out today less super Essence, but we are monitoring to see, what we can do. Can we, with that in order to improve. So the thing is, like, we'll iterate to get to a place where super rare feels good, based on, as you said, like the supply constraint that we have in our mind. Like we're not holding you off from rewarding. More like we wanna reward the cards that are available to reward in the best way possible. So we'll look at these and iterate.
Cool. I think the last gameplay question I had was about a beat the game mode. We obviously had the threshold for a long time, and then we had the choose your target threshold, which is now back for a special weekly that's paying Essence. Have you guys considered the viability of like a regular beat the game competition?
Yeah, so a couple of things. Like one is for sure, like as you've seen also in the October special, like it will occasionally start to appear. Like it will appear at least for the next special events. I believe at least from what we also hear from the user, like the nice thing about the beat the game element, it was also loved because the tail of reward was bigger and the score needed to attain and to win something was smaller, right? Mm-hmm. Which is technically what Boxes is trying to do. Like, I don't know, from perspective, I don't know if people know, like from the beat the game, usually the percentage of participants that were winning was ranging between 25% to 35% usually. And Boxes literally guarantee you from 25% to 50%. So we're not far off. So in that sense, there is no short-term plan, at least to accelerate this. But we're testing things, assessing the possibilities. But for now, the one that is coming up is in the October special, where there is a select target to be dealt with.
Okay, cool. Tulga, I'm going to jump to your expertise here, particularly about the new game lobby. And I think obviously there were like massive changes to the gameplay, which necessitated you guys to create this new lobby that showed the possibility to enter what feels like 1,000 competitions every week. And obviously that isn't an easy task, particularly in what the lobby used to look like. And now that I'm like trying to think, I can barely remember what it used to look like. But like, what were some of the main kind of issues that you guys wanted to address with this new gameplay to let users kind of be able to easily play it?
Yeah, great question. I guess the thing we got to think about is like the first 5 years of Sorare, we were kind of like a unicorn in the space, in the industry. We're an NFT fantasy company. We have no competitors, and we're kind of like, we're building for the community, with the community. So with that in mind, the community are early adopters, innovators who are really attracted by Sorare's value proposition of this, own your game, collect these things. And what we really want, because we're building with the community, we're listening to a lot of feature requests that they're asking for. And in terms of like the level of quality we're hitting at with those feature requests, we're always around like level 2, just making sure that the feature that they're requesting and that we see business ROI in can kind of produce at that like level, and then move on to the next feature because there's just so much to build. It's like really brand new. And what happens with that is that you kind of start gaining a lot of utility, but you lose a lot of usability and desirability in the product when you design for like a local like maximum, And so this was basically the kind of 5 years of the Sorare, and that kind of looking at shiny new features, tying it to a certain business metric, and kind of pushing out that feature, and that's kind of what it was. And so with this new in-season model, it's a great time for us to really reconsider where we are and where we want to be, and we really want to be kind of more like a video game concept with the idea of entertainment. And if you think about like an industry with no competition, like think about the first car. The first car, I'm sure the wheel was so hard to turn, like the seats were like really uncomfortable, and the only competition you have with it is a horse. So you can just kind of go and focus on the utility. But the moment you see like today's market, the competition is crazy, and for us, we are moving away from the NFT kind of space and into entertainment space, where there's tons of more competitors. We're trying to attract the early majority kind of user base who have tons of options at their disposal, what they want to do with their time and where they want to be entertained. And so we have to look at like all of the, like, if you think about a car now, you think about like the stitching, what the leather is like, how the doors close, like all those feelings of premium luxury, and versus like an okay kind of car. And those focuses are more about usability and desirability. And so what my job here at Sorare is not only to just make things look cool or whatever, but is a lot of user testing. And because of the focus on utility with a lot of new users, when we were going through tests, we kind of failed them. Like we came into a product where it was for the local maximum, and they couldn't understand and grasp a lot of the core fundamentals of the game to allow them to come back. So our D1 retention was low, our week 1 retention was low, and our week 2 retention for these new users was almost non-existent. Like if you think about even you, like or think about your friends that you're trying to convince to play, and you talk to them, like I'm sure you've had experiences where they're very overwhelmed. They're like, oh, you gotta just like play rare All-Star Pro or limited contender Cap 240, or you got get this goalkeeper from South Korea and like ball out, whatever, but like smash, like these things, these scores. But like in reality, the early majority user who's coming in to be entertained, can't really like grasp all these concepts. So what we did was kind of look at the fundamentals and create a very simple and clean experience that is really usable, that's really desirable from a creative point of view, and kind of still maintains the utility that we really need, that builds the right behaviors and guarantees D1 week 1 retention that they come back. So that's like the main kind of goal, and I can go into in depth in other things, but like I think the concept was, how can we really gamify every single experience and provide surprising delight moments, abstract the complexity that comes with NFTs and all these things, and just kind of make people really enjoy the game and want to come back and spend their time on the platform.
I think what you mentioned there is something that a lot of existing users kind of forget, that the game, like we're used to it, obviously, if we've been playing for a few months, a few years. And so it doesn't feel that overwhelming. But like you said, somebody new comes in, and to describe everything that you have to do to play, it immediately feels overwhelming. And I do think that the new lobby design simplifies that, at least for those. It definitely feels like it's skews more towards newer users, or those who are not putting in 100 lineups every game week. And I think we kind of forget that that's probably where you should be going, since most, like ideally, you're just continuously bringing in new users. And so you don't want to have to reteach everyone the same thing every few weeks. You want to be able to have new people come in and say, yes, I understand this, and here's where I go with it. And so I just wonder how much of the utility, maybe it's even just kind of what older users are just used to.
No, for sure.
Maybe we're actually not, like, I feel like they feel like they're sacrificing utility, but it's actually just kind of moved.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And part of the reason why we went with this move is also like, partnership with Sorare Data and the export button. We felt comfortable that a lot of the services that you guys provide, answer a lot of the utility needs of kind of, the power user and the old the early adopters. And so we're not trying to compete with Sorare data. We're trying to grow, and in order to grow, we need to create a more simplified experience. That's just the beginning, though. Like throughout their user journey, they're going to grow into a more hardcore or power user, and we'll evolve with them and iterate and catch up to where we the lost utility. But we want to have a really great foundation where it's super usable, super kind of desirable, and then build with the new community a bit of the utility. But at the same time, listen to the power users. Where are the pain points? Because there obviously are pain points, and what we can do to appease that. And I think a really important thing is to respect and appreciate the community that we currently have. But listen, like through the user testing that we had, like there's this amazing community of people I've talked to and tested with who love fantasy football, who are also looking for a community, and we've kind of done them a disservice by like kind of shutting them out. And so our goal is to really bring them in and show them like how great our community is and how great like Sorare is.
I think I've mentioned this kind of on previous Sorare data streams that my appreciation for design has changed over the years. Basically, when I started working at Sorare Data, that design is not just making something look good. Like people have to be able to use it and understand, and you want to be able to, do something in one click on one part of the screen instead of you doing 3 clicks on 3 different screens. Like there's just a lot of usability aspects that you have to consider. It's not just, hey, let's make this look good. Is it difficult for you guys to get feedback from new users? Like I imagine they're not, somebody new to a platform isn't necessarily like jumping out at you saying, let me help you get my opinion. So like, how do you kind of talk with new users who are using your game lobbies?
Yeah, we do like sampling. And so we look for people who are within the target market that we're looking for in the segments that we kind of, focus on. So, like FPL players, just general, fantasy players and other things, or just general sports fans who have a keen interest in maybe collections and stuff like that. And we run through like tests on like just like this on Zoom, where I create clickable prototypes, and they kind of go through the platform. First, we do like the actual parent product, and we learn a lot from new users, and then we come up with ideas, hypotheses of how to make something better. And then we run that test with more users, and we continually test and iterate until we feel like all 5 or like 10 or 15, depending on the sample of users who've used the prototype, have a great experience. And this is like this lobby has been an iteration from since March when we first came out with the in-season kind of concept, and we've slowly evolved into this kind of one lobby to rule them all concept, where for a new user they are instantly onboarded to a kind of a composed flow where they get rewarded with essence. They can craft a card, and they're instantly into this kind of semi-pro environment where when they land in the lobby, they have their one game week that they can focus on, and the next game week is cloned for them, and they can then just as human nature just kind of want to fill it in. And that's like the kind of hypothesis that we had that's been proving really successful and for retention and engagement. And we're kind of create this behavior with these new users, and hopefully with our existing community, where we go into a lobby and you kind of like fill in your lineups. It's kind of very similar to what it was, just in a different way.
So does the lineup cloning, is that like a behavior that you guys see most users do, that they enter kind of the same competitions every single game week? Like that's actually that's like it's not like a pain point. I won't be dramatic about it, but that is one thing I noticed, that like when I go into the lobby, it'll show me the same competitions that I entered last equivalent game week, last weekend game week, and then it'll show if I had 25 lineups last week, it'll show essentially like clone the 25 that I had. And maybe because of the number of lineups I have, that I don't necessarily enter the same ones every week. Like some weeks I'll do, or I don't necessarily, that like one week, this game week, maybe I'll take a lineup that I normally do in Contender and now play it in Cap 270 or one of the specials that happens. And so is there kind of a number of lineups that you would think a user would use where the clone almost doesn't help?
Yeah, I think that's what you said about like the power user who have 25 plus lineups, of course, but I think the focus in this iteration was for the like this early majority group where users with like let's say 15 and below kind of enter the same amount of same lineups through. They're not really focused on different kind of entering different kind of going from PL to champion or something like that. They're always focused on one because they're attracted to the IP of like, oh, I know PL really well, let me play the Prem, or oh, I know Bundesliga really well, I'm going to play Bundesliga. And these kind of customers are attracted to like the winning rewards from cards they actually know rather than random kind of players. So we're trying to cater to that audience. However, I think the next iteration will also focus on the power users and what we can do through a lineup builder and stuff like that. But another thing that we also focus on the design of is the game week special weekly. And so in the game week lobby, you'll see we promote these special weeklies where we try to get our existing user base as well as the new users to come and try new fun weekly kind of events. And so obviously, if you have a Premier League lineup, but you see you're enticed by a special weekly, we're excited that you try the special weekly and hopefully get more cards to have fun and play both.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great explanation of it. I will say that I use like the Discover. I can actually just pull it up on the screen here because I don't want you guys to misunderstand the one that I'm using. But like, I think this screen is great. Like, I love that. So there's so much information on this page that we used to need 15 clicks for that it's like, it's a very clear, this is how much is available to win. It's all the rules, what cards you can use, the matches that are coming up, the prize pool. Like, the only thing I have to say about this page is I think you guys nailed it.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, no, it's through to testing and seeing like what users are really looking for, and we kind of put it on the screen here, and then still getting improving. We were launching very iteratively, so you'll see more improvements as we go. But for like a new user, for example, like this was the original lobby, like in the in March and going forward, and it was just not doing it for new customers, new users, and everything. So that's the reason why we have this button that says discover new competitions, and it's really speaking to users, new and old, who've basically won cards and unlocked a new competition, and maybe you can discover something new. So that's like the whole idea is we clone the lineups that you regularly, habitually enter, and then from there, once you build up your collection, discover something new and kind of play again.
So obviously I only see like the lobby that I see, but if I'm somebody who has like only played the Premier League, like I'll pretty much only see the Premier League in this screen.
Yeah.
So because I'm not a new user, when I go into the play option, I immediately go to discover new competitions, just because like that's where, maybe like you said, that's what it was at the beginning of the transition. So like that's what I'm used to. But like this is just kind of overwhelming for me. Now, I will also say I don't set my lineups here anyway, and that's kind of, you guys mentioned that before. Like I'm the definition of like a power user. I work for Sorare Data, so I'm going to use our lineup builder. But I think part of the feedback that I saw like about this page was just that it's just so much for somebody who has a lot of lineups. But your explanation makes total sense and I imagine it's most users don't have 25 lineups. I mean, I know that they don't. That this screen doesn't look like this for everybody.
Yeah, and yeah, that's trying to reiterate what Tulga was saying, is because we started with the focus to the new users. Like, I mean, there are things that are in the works that will solve really what you're saying, like the overwhelming number of cards. There will be stuff coming. So that's a bit of a teasing.
And just for like put my like business hat on and whatnot, but to think like for growth, we need to kind of for this like early majority, like get a nice little environment for them to feel safe, and like they kind of need hand holding, and this is a great way to handhold and let them build their lineups, come back after day one, come back in the second week, and kind of build those habits, and then slowly through the user journey they're going to have more teams, and we're going to definitely build for that, and it's always been in the plans. But I think some of the things that I forgot to mention with the idea of I only talk about usability, but there's also the section of desirability. And we also made like the stadium, like the view, bigger because we kind of want like people to share their IP, like be proud of what they own, and like they purchase, like you purchase like rare cards aren't cheap, like they're like it's a good investment of what you want to have fun. So we want to celebrate those moments, and we wanted to create this feeling of like when you see your screen, especially with the tomorrow you'll see when we launch cards, you'll have some special editions that are pretty fire, and you're gonna like love just like looking and gazing and seeing this. And we noticed that a lot of what you see on Twitter before when they shared images, it was either very small images, like very small lineups, like you couldn't really see your players, or they share Sorare data. And for us, like if new users come and they search Sorare or whatever, they're only seeing Sorare data lineups. It's not like the best experience for us, like in terms of like product awareness and like and growth. So now I think if you search like Sorare, like a lot of people are sharing their lineups through like the lobby, as well as you can see all the cards, and that's like a great thing, like a vehicle for us for growth and to kind of bring that IP. And with like, for example, the stadiums, you see like in season have like the colored fields, whereas the classics have the grass pitches. We're trying to be really fun with the creative moments too. So like we're only going to pump that up more as we continue iteratively growing, where you'll come in and we'll really hopefully get some nice surprise and delight moments, and that along with I don't want to spoil too much about the reveal things, but those kind of things are the things that we want to continue to push to increase the desirability and make you feel like you want to go to the site to just enjoy and have fun.
I don't think that there's any question that the site is better looking and more exciting than it's ever been. Like I think it kind of just it gives you that sense of excitement, and which is, we're all here to have fun and play this game. And so having more of that is obviously great. You did say you don't want to give away too much, but if there's anything you want to give away, I mean, we're happy to listen to it. Or at least, how about I'll rephrase it of what are the next kind of points of, and we can keep it to the game lobby or expand out of like, what you guys think is an experience that you guys could upgrade.
Yeah, so a couple of things. One is, as we've just spoken recently, lineup builder, how we can improve that for our, when they grow and get more lineups and for our power users. Two is the reward summary and like an overview of your lineups. I think that's two things that we really want to improve. I think, as I said before, like everyone's sharing what people win on Sorare data. We want to kind of take that ownership back to us and really promote our IP. And like leverage all our great IP that we have. I think it's like something super important to us. And then also we have this concept of a match center. So right now the live experience isn't too great. When you go in the lobby, you're scanning through and you're kind of seeing what's happening. So we want to make like a nice live center that you click into and kind of see all your players playing, similar to, I think, Sorare data is something very similar. And then overall, just general quality of life improvements that all our users are kind of asking for right now, and I think that's about it for the pro side.
So I was going to finish there, but the fact that you said that's it on the pro side obviously makes me think we haven't touched on rivals at all. And I don't want to keep you guys too much longer, but obviously the introduction of this new competition kind of is kind of creating these even like smaller communities of people who are looking to play together and kind of compete in that respect. Is that where you guys see Rivals going in the future, or is it just kind of one piece of what Rivals is going to be?
That's a great question. I think, based on how users are kind of using the app right now, we'll see like where we want to take it. And so I think using like the Rivals leagues as an example of, we saw people really love this like inner communities that have with each other. They love competing with each other, but at the same time competing against other squads. And it was awesome to see like this kind of interaction. And that's why we kind of laid out, rival squads. And I think we're slowly just monitoring, testing things with events and seeing where, how the community sentiment is kind of feeling and go from there. And also if we want to continue to use Rivals as like the growth vehicle or retention vehicle or wherever it will be. But safe to say, like we're really happy right now with how Rivals has been doing. and trying. And if anyone wants to join my squad, let me know.
Yeah, no, I think Rivals has been a hit. Like the number of people that I know that have few cards or have tons of cards, and they're all seem to be playing Rivals and trying to. The fun part now is people who joined a squad early and now are trying to figure out ways to get out of their squad to get into another one and not hurt anybody's feelings. So that's my. So yeah, that's all the questions I have. I really appreciate you guys taking all this time. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you guys wanted to discuss, or any huge announcements you wanted to give us? That's fine too.
Yeah, I mean, for like at least, of course, we know the one of tomorrow coming. So I hope all of you will definitely enjoy it. Some more also coming like Friday, and then the coming weeks. Other than this, I mean, I think the recent thing that we launched around the October special is important. Based on what we heard from the feedback, like it tries to address the all the talks around like special events, classic slots, etc. So it's something like we feel that we addressed, having more classic specials to play during the midweeks, having permanent double all stars during midweeks with 3 entries, which gives a bit more more spots for classic to play, and less restriction, because we know like sometimes like there were only an underdog special events. It was hard for people to play their cards. So we heard that feedback. So yeah, like I think a combination of what we discussed, the improvements we're doing for special events, we're definitely excited about, and then what's coming tomorrow as well. So yeah, that's it, at least on my side. Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, just to confirm, you said we're going to have permanent global all-star in midweeks?
So it is going to be, at least so for October, that's the plan. Like you'll see in midweeks, there's always a global all-star.
Okay.
So with less restriction, at least, that allows classic cards.
Yeah. Great.
I was going to ask a question. What did you feel about the Mbappe event, like the commercial and all? Were you expecting that? Like, did you know the bomb or?
I was not expecting it at all. I feel like there was a split of people who were like, I'm never going to win this. And so like they were hesitant to enter, but then you go into the game lobby and it's like right there and you're like, obviously I'm going to enter. And so I feel like there is an excitement about it. And I mean, when you have the opportunity to do something with arguably the best player in the world right now, like it's a pretty good situation. And I think doing it with the card reveals coming up this week, like I think it timed really well. So it's really exciting. I don't think the Zidane experience necessarily hit on for as many people as like meeting Mbappe was. And so I think it was really exciting, and yeah, it's be fun to see who ends up winning and how it plays out.
Yeah, nice.
So Guy, Tulga, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. I don't think everybody is expecting like everything to be perfect right away. And I think we need to kind of again remind everybody that Sorare don't have 10,000 employees that can just like have an idea and immediately put it into action. So it was nice to see kind of where you guys were, where you are in your thinking of gameplay and design and how everything works together. And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, and thanks a lot to you for the content you're putting out there. Like it's our morning metro routine for Tulga and I. So happy to have been part of one of the episodes. And thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.